Hello, everyone. How we doing? Happy Saturday. I hope we're well. The first stream of the year, would you believe? It's hard to believe, but it is. The first stream of 2026. It's crazy. It is crazy to believe that we're here, the 12th of January, 2026. And it was a bit of snow last night. A bit of snow, not much now. It's supposed to be more tonight. But literally only snowed for about 5 seconds here last night. So there's a bit of snow still, but not too much. But yeah, there you go. The first few days of January with the snow. Funny enough, last January there was snow, but it was a bit later on. It was around the 8th last year there was snow and stuff. We are a few minutes early, just to say too, but we know we made it in time, and let's put that way. Compared to the last stream, we were 15 minutes late, so we're making up for it. Let's put that way. Let me see. So we're near enough. We soon changing the we'll probably look about changing the title. As you know, there's only 5 more streams, and I said at 200 episodes that we would talk about changing the title of these streams. So we wait and see. It'll be 5 more streams anyway. It'll be not next week anyway. Probably 2 more weeks or so. And then we see about doing something. We might do something with the 200th episode. I did say to people to let people call in. Well, a few people that I know, called people regulars in the channel. We let 1 or 2 people call in to say hello. Well, not what I mean by calling. We work that out how we're going to work it out. Because it's not something that we do all the time. Let people call in and stuff. We probably will do it for the episode 200, depending on everything, of course, how it goes. And obviously nothing happens, nothing major happens. But yeah, so a lot of stuff happening in the world. They put it nicely at the moment. A huge amount of stuff. Like 2026 has just gone off with a bang. Particularly in South America. I'm sure people know about what happened in South America. Basically, the United States have seized control of Venezuela, put it nicely too, along with their president. They've basically taken the president of Venezuela and putting him up in charges, basically, in the United States for drug trafficking and other stuff. So it's hard to know. The United States at the moment is in control of Venezuela, pretty much. At the moment, so we see what happens. Hello there, Shawnee. How are we doing? Hope you're having a good 2026 so far. But yeah, we see what happens in Venezuela. So at the moment, the time the United States are in control, we see hopefully democracy will return to Venezuela. We see what happens. It's going to take a while, but I say. But we see. But yeah, it's quite extraordinary, to be totally honest with you. It is literally quite extraordinary how it happened. Like they just went in and got him, and then were out. Literally no casualties on the United States part, which is insane. 150 aircraft or something, from planes to jets. Insane how nobody was killed. Like no United States person was killed. I don't know about the Venezuela side. There probably was a few people killed on the Venezuela side. But we see what happens. But as long as some kind of democracy is restored in Venezuela. Now, you could argue Donald Trump's true purpose of going into Venezuela, because he's the main thing I've heard him talk about. And I was listening to him there when he was making his press conference there about an hour ago. That the main thing I've heard from him is about oil. It's not about the people, it's more about the oil, like the money from the oil and stuff. So I don't know, but it's typical of the United States. If we ever know anything about Iraq and stuff like that, straight away they go in whenever there's oil to protect the oil, etc. But we see what happens. But hopefully he's doing it on good regards to try and stop people being killed and stuff. Of course, the Venezuelan regime, the former Venezuelan regime, wasn't that great to people in terms of people who opposed it, people's speech, etc. So yeah, but as long as the people of Venezuela are happy, that's the main thing, and can speak freely and openly, and choose who they want to govern them. We see what happens, but because it's still very early stages, what could happen. We see what happens. Just to say, I'm a few minutes early. Yeah, but it's the same here. I'll go up to you too. Venezuela is the most rich, very poor, yeah. But they used to be rich enough, and then the dictatorship came to power, and basically they took all the money for themselves and left the people in squalor. But I don't know, is the United States going to do that for the people of Venezuela? I think they're going to do it for themselves, to take the oil themselves and go with it. You know. But yeah, they should be very rich. But again, it was all to do with corruption. The president and his advisors and stuff took all the money from the oil and stuff, and the people were left with nothing. But hopefully that will change. But I don't know with Donald Trump. It's very hard to know. He's more talking about it like to get the oil for America and stuff. But I don't know. Hopefully there'll be some change for them, for the people of Venezuela. But yeah. But he's already talking. But the thing I didn't like about the press conference, he's already talking right now. I know Cuba. There's a blockade of Cuba, etc. But he's already talking about, we could go after Cuba next. Like America can't just be going into every country in the world and saying, yeah, we're going here now to bring democracy and stuff. Like they can't go into every country, But we see what happens there too. But Cuba's a different sort. Cuba's always been a good bit of a mess. Venezuela, not so much, only for the last 30 years or so, last 30 years. Cuba's always been really a mess. It's mainly a communist regime in Cuba still after Fidel Castro died, etc. And communism never ends well. It's good in theory, but in reality, it never ends well. There's always mass famines or mass starvations or people getting shot in the head. That seems to be the main thing in communism. Well, you could claim that Venezuela. You could claim that Venezuela was a communist regime, but it's more a socialist regime than a communist regime. I'm dying. I'm sorry, my throat is happy a bit. But we see what happens. But I knew they would probably go in at some stage. I didn't know when they would go in, but I knew they were going to go in because they didn't have a big, huge navy. Probably 20, 30 ships and an aircraft carrier, etc. They didn't have that there just for nothing, like off the coast of Venezuela. They definitely were going to do something, but I didn't know what. I didn't think they were going to go and get their president and stuff. I didn't think that would happen. I thought maybe they would do airstrikes, etc. But I didn't think they would go and literally go and take the president and bring him to the United States. I didn't envision that one. That wasn't in my cards. Whatever about airstrikes and stuff, maybe, but I didn't foresee this. Because basically they had it all done within 2 hours. Basically, the whole Venezuelan regime basically fell in 2 hours. Or even an hour, sorry. Unless, obviously, we don't know what could happen now in the next few hours. Because obviously the United States is not boots on the ground. But most likely they will just capitulate. Because the head of the snake's pretty much gone. Like, their leader is gone. There's nothing really... there's no head of the snake, if that makes sense. The snake is headless at the moment. Well, we see what happens, but I only wish the best for Venezuela. Hello, Shawnee. How are we doing? How are we keeping? How's our 2026 going so far? We're 3 days in. You haven't won the lotto, anything. So just making sure there's no messages. But yeah, so it's quite insane in Venezuela. But hopefully, peace can be restored to Venezuela, and some kind of democracy be put in place for the people of Venezuela. and hopefully the fortunes change because they do have a lot of wealth, like they have oil and stuff like that. So hopefully that it can help the people of Venezuela, because they were oppressed for a long time, as I said, under Nicolas Maduro. So hopefully it'll be good for, like, hopefully it benefits them, and hopefully there'll be no more violence and stuff. Hopefully it won't be a dragged out conflict and stuff. Like there is probably like Nicolas Maduro's supporters like Micheletia and stuff like that. It depends what the Venezuelan military are going to do too. Are they going to listen to Donald Trump, or are they going to fight back? I suppose, but they don't really have the means. That the United States is far superior in every technology in terms of air force and everything. Like basically, they have nothing to compete with the United States. But we see what happens. But hopefully, the main thing is that nobody else gets killed, because definitely was a few people killed with the United States going in. But hopefully hopefully there won't be any more of that. And also, he's saying about the Colombian president, he should watch his ass. But yeah, I tell you, this cut in my hand is the most annoying thing imaginable. Also, yeah, just when I was talking about the main thing, there is a video going around on social media, not even just YouTube. I'm sure people. I don't know when this. I tried to figure it out myself when this was. I think this was not yesterday, the day before that. So I think it was. I think it was Thursday. I think it was Thursday evening. I'm not sure, but I haven't fact checked it too much. But I think it's in King's Court too. Again, a lot of people saying different things. One person said it was in Baileybo, one person said it was in King's Court. But I'm going on the information that it is in King's Court. That a person, I suppose, a migrant to it. I don't know what nationality or who he is, but he's going around with an iron bar. I don't know what I don't know what the whole deal. The video is very short. It's only about 10 seconds or something like that. So I don't know what it was over. Was it to do with money? What was it to do with? No news from the local media here in Cavan, so I don't know what's the story with it. And again, the people I was talking to, as I said, one person thought it was bailable, and the other person says it was in King's Court. But I'm not sure, to be told, into the whole lot of it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about it. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into it as we speak too. Still no really word on it. But we see what happens. But yeah, I don't know if anybody seen that video. Or does anybody know anything else about it, may I ask? Because there's not really much information I'm getting about it. But it does look like, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, it's on the community post too. But looking at the background, it kind of looks like for the King's Court, because King's Court have big, huge roads, like very open roads and stuff. So I presume it is King's Court, but I'm not sure. If anybody gets my drift. But sorry, 1 second. Also, I'm sure everybody's heard about Michal Mountain. He's off on a holiday. He's off to China. He's off to see the Chinese. A great bunch of lads. Father Ted reference right there. But yeah, he's off to see Xi Jinping, I think. So he's off to China on the new government jet, I think. So he's getting a spin on the new government jet. And obviously the environment and stuff like that. But, would he mention to Xi Jinping about all the environmental damage China has done and stuff? Would he mention it to them? Who knows? But yeah, it's 14 years since an Irish leader's been in China, just to say. So let's see what happens over there in China. Hopefully they keep him there for the Communist Party. He do well in the Communist Party, Michal Mountain. He fit in well. I think he could become the chairman of the Communist Party. Like Xi Jinping has nothing on Michal Mountain, like in terms of propaganda and stuff. So Xi Jinping could have his match here. He might have to retire and give Michal Martin the job. Everybody in the country would be delighted if that came out, that Michal Martin is now the new chairperson of the Communist Party of China. He suit them down to the ground. Hopefully they keep him there. But yeah, so hopefully we see what happens. But it's insane too, because what he's basically saying. He's trying to justify it too that he's going, because as you know, he's basically been out of the country half of the fucking year because he doesn't want to come back and address problems here. He's too busy flying around the world. Obviously, in the government, obviously UNI's expense. He's not paying for them himself. Don't worry about that. But yeah, so basically, he's trying to run away from his problems in the nicest way possible. So yeah, he's basically going. He's saying he's going to promote European relations. What I mean, the EU. I do think he, in his bollocks, he is. Be totally honest. He's just going on a holiday. That's what he's going on. So, I hate these ads. One second, see. Yeah, so what do we think? Do we think Michal Martin's going to stay there forever in China? Do you think they give him a house? Do you think they let him stay? That's what I don't think Xi Jinping would be too fond of Michal Martin. I don't think many countries would be too fond of him. So I don't think he's going to last too long over there. We see what happens, but Xi Jinping, Ping Chinen. Also, I just seen this the other day. This is to do with people's cows, the NCT particularly. So many cows are failing their NCT. And like 1 in every 13 vehicles are unroadworthy, pretty much. And you wonder why there's accidents too when people, like sometimes the tires are literally gone altogether. And then in some other cases they don't have enough oil, and it's ridiculous, some of the cases that happen. And you wonder how there's accidents, and you wonder how people get killed on the roads. And obviously sometimes too, people just don't have the money for it. And that's as simple as that. People don't have the money to look after the cow because it's too expensive. Sean mentioned it actually the other day too. Yeah, you were right, and I forgot all about it, that petrol went up from yesterday. It could have been the first actually. Yeah, I think petrol went up. The carbon tax was added more to petrol and diesel, so that's more money for the government basically, and less money for the ordinary Irish person. And then obviously the price of tolls too has gone up too, but the money for the tolls doesn't go even to the people of Ireland. At least with the carbon tax, it goes to something, the government's back pocket. But I don't know where the money for the tolls go. They just go into the whole. But so as I said in that, a lot of people in Cavan go for the NCT to Mead, to Kells, which is insane. But a lot of people don't trust them in Cavan to do the NCT. And that's to be totally honest with you. Sorry, give me a moment. Sorry. But so that's pretty much what's happening at the moment there. So obviously, too, last year was pretty bad in terms of deaths and stuff on the roads. Like people, and you wonder why, because again, a lot of people are not concentrating on the road first of all, and then the other half of people are drunk and on drugs. Like people have lost the plot on the roads basically. Like it's really, really dangerous what's happening. Because a lot of the cases too, people take it when they're drunk and on drugs and stuff. They're just like innocent civilians, basically. What I mean by that is people that are just going about their day-to-day lives, and somebody that's drunk and stuff goes to the other side of the road and nearly kills them. We've seen that yet the other day in Cavan. There's a video up online about it. Like literally the post, and I don't know, was he drunk or what was the story? But basically he goes into the opposite lane and the other car has to swerve to avoid him. Like it's really, really dangerous stuff. And again, innocent people are getting hurt. It's not the people that are drunk that's getting hurt and killed. It's more the people that are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. If that makes any sense. So yeah. But yeah, it's quite insane. I think it's 190, isn't it? People that died in the roads this year from pedestrians. A lot of pedestrians too were killed, but mainly too it's people not wearing reflective jackets. But in a lot of cases too, people like the people that knocked the pedestrians down, the drivers. A lot of them were just on their phone or drunk, etc. They wouldn't pay attention to what was in front of them. And it's worrying. It is really, really worrying because in some cases, some of these people did have reflectors on, but it's just that the driver wasn't paying attention or was distracted by their phone or something else, and it's worrying. It's really, really worrying because it could happen to any of us. At any stage, we come outside the door of a shop, whatever the story may be, you could easily get knocked down and killed. It's very worrying stuff. But yeah, so it's very concerning because it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. Then almost for such a small country too. We're a big enough country, of course, but for such a small country with a small population, it's a worrying trend because we can't really afford to lose. Like take for example, if it's next year was 250 people a year die on the roads. It's an insane amount of people dead in the roads in a year. Like it's an insane amount when you really think about it. Moving on to the other thing, I just wanted to briefly talk. I talked about it yesterday in the community post that there was a poll done around the world too, and in the UK and the United States it was 40%, and I'll explain what it's about now in a second. But in Ireland it was only 20%, and that's to do with people's optimism for this year coming 2026. And were they looking forward to the thing to be better than 2025? And unfortunately, only 20% of the Irish public in this study said, yeah, it would be better. So basically, what I'm trying to say is 80% of the Irish public were like, no, it's going to be the same. It's going to be worse, actually, they said, than last year, which is insane to have to say that in a country that is a developed country that is, basically rotten with money in a lot of cases too. But the money's just not getting to the people. It's the same as what really is happening in Venezuela. The money's just given to a few small elites in society, and it's not going to the people. And it's very concerning, of course. Especially because, again, young people, it's just gone. It's just totally upset. It's like they're not even probably 3% of people looking forward to this year and have optimism for this year. It's a worrying thing. It is really, really worrying, concerning. I presume notifications didn't go out tonight too, just to say. So there you go. But we continue anyway. I'm not going to bother with stopping. We continue anyway. See, sometimes it just doesn't work, notifications. I probably should have. I should probably start scheduling the streams. That could maybe sort it. But I'd say it's just notification on YouTube's end. It's just banjoed. It's just gone. Or maybe I'm probably shadow banned because I've been saying a few things the last few nights. Well, not really a few things the last few nights, basically, but I've said a few things on YouTube and stuff that might be upset with me. So that could be it too. Many things. So we talked about this, the other night when I was live streaming, when I was live New Year's night. We talked about this, and this is to do with Steve Bannon. He's the former White House. Basically, he used to work for the first Trump administration, and he's talking about having an Irish version of Trump here, basically. What I mean by that is what's to start his own political party. Now, I don't know, was he talking about him being the leader or somebody else being the leader, or what's the story? But I don't know. I know a good lot of people ask me about it and ask me what do I think of it. And I've basically said in the community post too that a lot of this, literally every week, there's a new party being formed. And a lot of it comes to nothing, basically, but a lot of it turns into infighting straight away. Because the thing about political parties is there's always people with egos and stuff, and I don't blame people because you always want to get to the top or you want to get to a position of power, etc. If it's secretary, if it's chairperson, if it's deputy vice president, whatever it may be, you always want to get higher and stuff like that. And there's always competition, there's always huge amount of that. So it basically always turns into infighting in a lot of cases. And basically, it's more worried about infighting than the political decisions and the political subjects at hand. That's why you wouldn't see me going into political party now, because it always turns into infighting, constant infighting, straight away. So we see what happens, but to be totally honest, I'll be straight honest with you, I don't think it's going to turn into anything. It might materialise, but I'm very doubtful because there's so many, particularly says about a nationalist party, there's so many nationalist parties at the moment in Ireland, and nobody can agree on anything, basically, what I'm trying to say, so it's very hard. Hello, Lenny, how are we keeping? How is our 2026 going so far? But so my thoughts on it is just, there's already too many nationalist parties, and nobody can agree on anything, basically, what I'm trying to say. So having another one, it's just going to split people even more. It's going to split the vote, first of all, too. So it's concerning. It's concerning, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to come out of anything, but I don't think notifications went out tonight, Lenny, but it's a pity, but what can you do? Haven't really got into. You haven't got into. You still think you're on 2025. It's hard to believe, there's 2026 to be done. I don't think none of us really have got into 2026 yet. I don't think any of us really have got it, because again, the majority of people are starting back to work, including myself. We're starting back Monday to work and stuff, and then people probably start getting into it because people are just a bit tired and stuff. But yeah, but it's hard to believe it's the 3rd already. Like, it's insane too that when the 3rd of January, like, this month's going to fly too. The lockdown is ending, but there was a lot of people, particularly at the end, the lockdowns and stuff, that were very vocal about it. Yours truly too. Now, at the beginning of the lockdowns, I will say I made a mistake. I shouldn't have supported it. But at the time, I didn't have the information I have nowadays, if that makes any sense. Back then, I didn't have the information. But But a lot of people copped onto it, including myself, midway through it and so. Sorry, I'm doing a few things. So it's crazy to believe. Everybody said 2019, after 2019, basically, everything went to shit. And I've seen that so many times on social media. The people are like, take me back to 2019, before the lockdowns and stuff. Everything went to shit after that, I think, in 2019 or so, at the end of 2019. See that so much. Of course they did, yeah. That's the thing, but you're not allowed to say it openly, unfortunately. That's why you never hear me saying it, because you're not allowed to really say it on social media, well, particularly on YouTube. But there's no doubt they probably did. Especially because there's a lot of cases of it. But there's no doubt, really. There's no doubt what killed the people. in a lot of cases. But you can't really say much on YouTube about it, which is the annoying thing. Again, that's the worst thing about censorship, and so you're not allowed to question these things. They're the one things you're not allowed to question. You're not allowed to question that either Israel or vaccines. You're not allowed to question. They're the two things on YouTube you're definitely not allowed to talk about ever. You know, them two things are not allowed to be spoken about at all on YouTube. I've talked about it a bit on BitTube, but yeah. Yeah, I suppose it would be white in that. He's white in saying that, yeah. But it's just it's a nuisance because I would like to say a bit on it, but I have to kind of bite my tongue a bit on some of the stuff, like particularly to do with the vaccines and stuff. I would like to say one or two things about it, but on YouTube you're not allowed and stuff like that. Um, yeah, so that's the only reason. Only for that I would go into a lot more detail about it. But I can basically say what I need to say, but not. I can't really say too much. If that makes any sense. It is a very important issue. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and saying it's not an important issue, etc. But YouTube doesn't like it. That's the thing. I would like on BitTube have talked about it a good few times. Maybe not as much as other people, but I've talked about it a good bit. Yeah, I've talked about it maybe 3 or 4 times on BitTube. I haven't actually come to speak of it. I haven't nearly touched BitTube in about 5 months. I think that's how long it's been since I touched BitTube. What the fuck? Yeah, people don't know their neighbours, and that's just the sad thing. People don't know who their neighbours are. It's the same in communities. I've said this many times before. You used to know who the troublemakers were. Nowadays you don't know. Like years ago, it used to be said in communities and stuff, in villages and stuff. You knew who to look out for. You knew who to watch, basically. But unfortunately, nowadays you don't know who to watch, and that's just the sad thing. You just don't know. Like years ago, you knew exactly who to stay away from, or who was the village danger. If that makes any sense. But nowadays we don't know. And it's a worrying thing, of course, for all society. And even years ago, you could leave your front door open and go away for a week. And when you come back, it might be cold in your house, but you could leave it open and go away for a week and be back, and nothing would be moved, nothing would be touched. But unfortunately, now they take the eye out of your head. Basically, it's a sad thing to say, but it is the truth. That's due to many reasons, mainly immigration, but of course, other stuff. I suppose even social media too had an effect on it too. Because people had more, like people talked more years ago. People got to know each other a bit more nowadays. Like years ago, not so much nowadays. Nowadays, there's very little discussion about things. If that makes any sense, people just say what they have to say, and they don't really get into a big personal conversation, etc. with them. At least that's what I take in it. Yeah, like a lot of people. I even remember when I was younger too, when we used to go to the shop and stuff, like the local shop and stuff. Like we didn't lock the door. Like we closed the door over, but we didn't lock it. And oftentimes we left the windows open and went off on the walk down the road, etc. When I was younger. When I was really young and stuff, and we didn't. I don't even think we didn't even lock it. We left the windows open too for air and stuff. And when we come back, everything was the same. Nowadays you couldn't do that. Even down the street, just going down the street, if you like, even 3 or 4 minutes down the street, you couldn't do it because there's so many cases. I've talked about this before. There was a case of a person, like a man walking on his mother's grave in Cavan and Castle Tower, particularly. And so he left his door with the fan. He had a fan and he had a few tools in it. Like he was a tradesman. He was looking after like he was fixing it up, his mother's grave. And so the grave wasn't that far. Like his fan was here, and said the grave was over there. Like only about maybe 3 or 4, like a minute's walk from the fan, a minute or two from the fan. And he left the door open because he was going to go back. He was getting something, and he was bringing it up, and then going to go back with the other bit. And when he went back, when he left the other thing up, when he came back, one of his tools were gone, and that's his mother's grave too. Was taken, €1,000 worth of a tour, but yeah. Wouldn't freak you, yeah, that's the thing. But the people have no respect. I've even heard of cases, not just in Cavan, but across Ireland too. People going to people's graves and taking flowers and stuff off it. Like nobody has any respect anymore for anything. Because there's been instances of that and stuff. Yeah, like taking the vases and stuff of the graves and stuff. There's been cases that not so much in Cavan. There was a few instances of that happening, but not recently. But there is some case of it happening across the country. Yeah, I've seen it on social media and stuff. Particularly weeds at Christmas. There was 1 or 2 cases down the country. Like people bought Christmas weeds for the graves. For some people's graves, and unfortunately, some people stole them, and they were worth money, of course. But the fact of the matter, they were left in graves for Christmas and stuff, and they were taken. Not in Cavan, but down the country, I've seen that. Because there was a few people wonder where they went, and of course, they either were blown away, but of course, they were heavy enough, but they were taken because they couldn't find them regardless where they looked in the graveyard. So the only thing was that somebody stole them. I think this was where was it? In Kerry, somewhere down in Kerry. And then there was one in somewhere Tipperary or somewhere like that, Kildare, something like that, around there or somewhere. Because I just happened to see it on Twitter. But there's no like CCTV in the graveyards and stuff, so they just presumed they were taken because you couldn't find them, so somebody must have took them. And this was just over the Christmas period too. So. Hello, Gordon. Yeah, I've seen that. People going around cleaning up old abandoned graves and stuff. But there's people going around TikTok. Yeah, I might not know specifically this one, but I've seen videos like on Twitter and stuff of people doing up old abandoned graves, basically just been left for years to decay and stuff, cleaning them up and stuff. It's great that people do that, of course. But yeah. But there's a lot of people like even in Cavan that there's graves that the relatives are all gone and there's nobody to look after them. And there's even a lot of graves just in Cavan that haven't been touched in years. Like they were doing ones up in the town there, like during the summer there in Cavan. And there's graves, from the 1920s and stuff, 1930s. And nobody's ever went to them in probably 50, 60 years. Because all their relatives are dead. The people that knew them were dead, and there's nobody to look after the grave. So a lot of them were overgrown and stuff, and they were done up recently enough. But basically, there's nobody. There was loads of old flower pots and different things for holding flowers and different things. And nobody ever came back from because they were probably dead. They belonged to them. Yeah, you wouldn't be shot. Like in the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and stuff, you would get your hands cut off for stealing stuff. But there's nothing, as I say in them cases, the people wonder whether Christmas weeds wet for the grave, but they wouldn't in the graveyard, so somebody took them. But see, there's no usually CCTV in a lot. Even around Cavan, there's no CCTV in a lot of the graveyards. But some of them do have CCTV, but a lot of them don't. But it's a sad state of affairs when you have to say, graveyards need CCTV and stuff. But it's happened before around Cavan and Ford of it. But not even that, too. Afforded cases of people going into like where the ambulance is parked in Cavan. This is back during COVID too. And they would take the petrol out of the ambulances and stuff like that. Like when they were parked up. Um, yeah, I'm doing mighty. How are you, Gordon? How's it going around? How's your 2026 going so far? Um, but you know, people have lost all respect for anything. Nothing that's sacred nowadays. What I'm trying to say. Like I've seen, like those in Curtil there in County Cavan. This is before Christmas, but they were attending a funeral. Like the people were out. This is in somebody's house. They went out to a funeral of their neighbour. Um, and basically, when they came home after the funeral, the whole house was ransacked and robbed. So there's people going around in some parts of Cavan. There's people going around in Ireland too. They're listening to the death notices, and they're going in that area where the person died to basically rob people's houses. So that's what's happening too. That there's no decency. There was a person that died in Belturbet there the other day, and the family got private security basically to look after the house because they were afraid that could happen. So they paid €900 something for a few hours when they went out and buried their mother. And went for a meal afterwards. So they paid €900 for some private security to look after the house and their neighbours' houses. That's just good to show you because, years ago that would have been unheard of somebody doing that. Yeah, like they got the security company in Cavan to do it, but it wasn't just their house; it was their neighbour's house because it was their mother that died, and of course they were all very close. They all grew up together. They lived beside her. But yeah, they done that, and people were saying like it was a terror they had to fork out, along with paying for the funeral and paying for the priest and the burial and stuff. That was €1,000 basically, you could say, for private security for about 6 or 7 hours. You know, they shouldn't have to do that. Basically, what I'm trying to say. But the only reason why they did it because there was nobody in the houses. You know, that's what I'm saying. There was nobody in the houses, so they could have all went and ransacked the whole houses there. Um, and that it did happen in Cotillo, and that's what frightened them because of what happened in Cotillo. And this is before Christmas, but it did happen. The two houses were broken into on the same street because they were at the funeral of a person that lived beside them too. Because see, they listen to the like the death notices, and they find out where they live, and they know their neighbours could be going to it, and then they watch all that. So that's what happens because there's nobody there. Usually, when like in rural villages and stuff in County Kerry, you usually know the people who die, and the majority of them would go to the funeral and stuff like that. Just even speaking here too, a lot of people would, if somebody died in this parish here, the majority of people would go to it, and there'd be nobody left in the house, so they could basically go rampage, basically. But yeah. Yeah, but in this country, you get off with everything pretty much, unless you don't pay your TV license. They let you off. You will get off with everything else. Basically, if you don't pay your TV license, you're fucked, basically. So that's the one thing you don't want to do in this country. Commit talk crime. If you misgender somebody, you're in trouble. If you have a different opinion from the government, you're in trouble. So if you ever do them two things, you're fucked. But if you do anything else, you're fine. But as I say, nobody feels anything nowadays, and people don't have any respect. That's the main thing. Respect for themselves, not even for society. Respect for themselves to put themselves below that they would do things like that. That's the way I see it. Anyway. But yeah, it's totally evil stuff. And the worst thing when they do get caught, they get off with it. Like maybe get a month in prison, or they get a fine, or they get a fully suspended sentence, and pretty much as soon as they get out in a month's time, they're back out again. So you're pretty much just delaying the problem. Pretty much never goes away because they basically get out in a month's time. It's just never. But yeah. But it is disgusting. Like particularly people having when their mother's dead and stuff, having to fork out another €900. So somebody doesn't rob their houses. Basically, it's totally sickening. But yeah, so yeah, we probably know to go for another few more minutes tonight because to be totally honest, I'm a bit low energy. There was something else that's going to do. Now that can wait till tomorrow. Like there was a video that's going to upload, but they can wait till tomorrow. Where's the Peter? That's a good question. I soon have to give him a call and see what he's up to. Yeah, the amount of missing people too in this country is insane. Hello, Tony. How are we doing? But yeah, there's so many people that's missing, and we don't know still to this day where they are, or what happened to them. I can think of many cases at the top of my head. Yeah, but see, you need to have the evidence. It's all right saying that, this person could have done it, but you need to have something to back it up. Because unfortunately, you can't see into people's minds. You can't see what people did. Because if we just accuse people of, murdering somebody and stuff like that, we would literally have so many people in prison for nothing. Missed your stream. Yeah, we were literally here for nearly 4 hours, and we were all like, "Where's Tony?" Like it was literally a long stream. Yeah, the Icelandic man. Yeah, we're still no closer to finding him or what happened to him. Like he didn't leave the country, so we don't know. He's definitely somewhere here, but we don't know where he is. But or whatever happened to him. Yeah, no, it's okay, Tony. Don't bother. No bother. But we never know we never knew what happened to him. So, but presumably he's dead because it's a good while ago. I think it's 1998, wasn't something like that. It's a good long time ago. It could have been, yeah, it was 1998. Was it? Yeah, it might have been wrong, but something like that. But it's a long time ago. Yeah, missing cases, women particularly. But this man was on his own, like he wasn't with anybody. So it's hard to know what happened. Because they have CCTV footage of him, but then they can't find any more after that. But it's usually, you're right with in the terms the boyfriend or the husband's usually the killer. Yeah, no, they'll kill us, but sometimes it could be just random. Like this Icelandic fellow too. He never was in Ireland before. This is the first time he came to Ireland. He was only in Ireland a few days or something like that, so he didn't know really anybody. So it was definitely some random, like if something did happen, it was some random kidnapping, or something went wrong somewhere. Oh, you mean on New Year's night? Yeah, we had good fun. Yeah, without planning, yeah. But yeah. But yeah, so it's it is sickening. How many people have gone missing? We'll probably never find out what happened to people. There's people probably missing 50 years ago. We still don't know what happened to them, and it's a sad thing to say, but we probably never know, unfortunately. Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. Yeah. And there's many other weird cases of people just disappearing. Like there's a woman that's missing in Portugal, the cavan woman, and there's still no word. She's 5 years missing now, and there's still nothing from the Portuguese government or the authorities on what happened to her. She just disappeared. So we don't know. And even though, again, this is the thing, she has no passport. All of her money was left in her room, all her whole belonging, her identification papers, everything. So it's not like she went off somewhere else, because everything belonged to her was pretty much there. So whatever happened, who knows? But it's hard to know. But the Portuguese authorities took a long, long time to say that she went missing, to launch a missing persons case. They sat around for a good few years just standing there. I don't know what they were waiting for, but there's still no word about it, whatever ever happened to her. So I don't know either. Yeah, it is hell because I don't know. It's more the Portuguese authorities because I've talked to people about it. I don't know if the Portuguese authorities are that interested to do anything about it. I think the Portuguese authorities just not bothered. That's to be generally honest with you. They should be bothered, but they don't really seem to care. Going by my opinion, and what I've seen, because they simply have found nothing. Like they found literally nothing out. So I don't know whatever happened, but I think it's fair to say that I think a lot of people came to the same conclusion that it is a long time ago now that definitely she's not with us anymore. There's no way she's. We were hoping that she would be found, but there was never anything. Yeah, lots of cases like that, unfortunately, Gordon. But hopefully we do find her again, but I'm not sure. But see, the longer these cases go on, these missing cases, the less likely they are to be found. Now, there is cases that people are found like years later. They changed their identity. They went to a different country. They had a new beginning. But in a lot of these cases, there's no way they changed their identity and stuff. Because there was no CCTV, there was nothing to say. There was no evidence to say they went somewhere else. So, it's weird. It is weird, but I don't know. It's hard to know. Same with the disappeared from the Troubles, etc. There's so many people that were buried in unmarked graves by the IOA, by the British Intelligence Service too. And we still don't know to this day where half of them are buried and where they are. Or if the, I don't know what happened. There's so much of that in this country. It's insane. But it's a sad thing for a lot of the family, particularly too, that they never have a grave to go to. They never have the remains and stuff. It isn't closure, but at least even having the bones of, or even the remains of their loved one, there's some kind of closure. But it's the fact of the matter they have no closure. It's the guessing game, I suppose. Let's put that way. That's the really hard part of a lot of families. That there's no closure. It would be different to have a body. But yeah, it's a sickening world. It really, really is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It eats your soul. But unfortunately, there's so many cases of that in Ireland. And people die, and unfortunately, so many parents have died not knowing what happened to their daughter or to their son. And it's an evil thing. It really is. Yeah, there's so many. Like I'm sure but he was 32. Like he was a musician or something. I can't remember. But he's supposed to be buried in some part of Monaghan. That's what was said in the bogs, some bogs in Monaghan. But they never found him. They were digging just a few weeks ago for him, and they never found him. So we don't know about that. We don't know. There's so many people buried, particularly in Monaghan, up along the border and stuff. They were kidnapped by the IOA and stuff. And then the same vice versa with the Ulster volunteers. And so people just kidnapped on suspicion they were British spies, or they were, giving information to the police so they don't go to Sinn O'Connor. And shot and stuff and buried unmarked graves, miles away from everything. There's so many cases of that. The people that just disappeared. Yeah, but a lot of these people that were kidnapped and stuff during the Troubles and stuff, a lot of them were innocent people. that had nothing to do with anything. They were just suspected of being spies and being informers and stuff. And a lot of it wasn't true. So that's the sad part. There were innocent people a lot of the time that were killed and buried. Yeah, that's literally the most famous case that could be said about in this country. Is the case of that. Oh, sorry. And of course, there's a lot of questions to that, particularly, because there's implications that a higher-ranking politician was involved in that. And we all know, we've all seen Gemma O'Doherty's documentary about it, that the Gardaí at the time swore that they knew who the person was that had evidence that he'd done it. And there was a phone call made up to Dublin that was all told to be dropped, pretty much. So it's definitely something. I don't think them two Gardaí, particularly in that documentary, would have been lying about it. Like, they had no reason to lie about it. But still, to this day, there's no answers about that. Whatever happened, there's no answers. But yeah. But as I said, there's still no answers about where she is or whatever happened. And we have no body, we have nothing. So it is a mystery. But again, the state knows a lot more than they're letting on. But especially with that case, like the state does know something. I'm not saying they probably know where the body is and stuff, but they definitely know who is responsible for it. And they are covering for it because, as I said, them two Gardaí wouldn't, like, what did they have to gain for it? By saying, they had the suspect, they knew who it was. But he was told to be let go. He was too high profile. So, that's Gemma O'Doherty's right in that, in terms of that. There's no doubt about it. The state knows something about that case. I'm not saying they know everything, but they definitely know who's responsible for it. But that he's just a protected person. That's the one I'm trying to say. Yeah, you can tell the joke, Gordon, yeah. But that's the story with that one. So that's different compared to the ordinary case. A man on fire. What do you call a man on fire? A fireman, maybe. Fireman. Yeah, maybe. Something like that, maybe. Am I right? A firecracker. Oh, right. Yeah, like it's sadly just a story of this country. It's just far too common, unfortunately. But anyway, probably will go in a few minutes' time because to be generally honest, I am a bit tired. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is the state definitely, in that regard, knew. Especially because you have to remember, even nowadays, the state doesn't have a good reputation of human trafficking. And especially when you add up all the missing children in toothless care, that the state has a role in it in a lot of cases. Very controversial. Yeah, it snowed actually last night here for about 5 seconds. So it's frosty. It's given snow tonight, but I don't know. Because it wasn't much last night. It was only for about 5 seconds it snowed. So we see if there's more tonight. Maybe there will be, but I don't know. Yeah, there's a big moon. Last night there was a whole big moon. Everybody was talking about the big moon. Yeah, but I still don't think it's like particularly that case, there's so many people like what would you say, look up to him, I suppose, for doing that. But I still don't think it's right to take somebody's life like that. That's just my personal view on it. They quite literally did. Like the small amount of snow that came was pitiful. Um, no, we're not getting a new. No, not tonight. But yeah, so we probably stay for another minute or two, and then we leave it there for tonight because I am a bit tired. Um, yeah, it was. I seen the video and stuff, the body cam video. Yeah, but the moon, yeah. But yeah, I think we'll probably leave it there for tonight. To be totally honest, I'm a bit tired. Generally honest. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We should be back Wednesday, hopefully. Everything going well, we should be back Wednesday. Now, we'll be soon on episode 200. So when it gets to episode 200, we will have the vote and change the name of the live stream. So yeah, we'll be soon there. Another 5 episodes and we're there pretty much. So we'll see how that goes. What time are you going live Wednesday? It's hard to judge because you never know what could happen between then and now. But I say hopefully 6 o'clock, maybe 7, something like that. I can't give specifically, but definitely from 6 out to the 7. It won't be too late, 6, 7. But yeah, around that, I can't really tell you. Within that hour, I suppose. Let's put that way. But generally, it would be probably 6:30. That's usually around the time I would be live, just to say it's around that. So hopefully, again, it's hard to know because you never know what could happen. That's why I don't have a time schedule because you just never know. But yeah, hopefully it's 6:30. Hopefully, I try and be live at 6:30. Again, something could get in my way. But anyway, that's it for tonight. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Make sure to have a look. I put up a video about AI earlier on. If you have time, have a look at that. I was going to upload another video tonight, but I leave it to it for not bother uploading it tonight. But anyway, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of your weekend, and I chat to you Wednesday. Thank you.